Guys, what's up? Welcome to another episode of BTC 2.0. I'm your host, Rich, and guess who's back? My buddy and yours, Ethan Young. We chat about a lot of cool stuff. Check it out. All right, guys, welcome to the show. Ethan Young, part 2. Ethan, what's going on?
I'm doing well, Rich. Thanks for having me back.
Oh, absolutely, man. You're one of my favorite guests and one of my favorite people, I gotta say.
Oh, you too.
It is true. Thank you.
You're one of my favorite people in comics as well, man.
Oh, thanks, dude. I appreciate that. I'm not technically in comics, but I do love comics.
You're in comics enough.
So, last time I had you on, your book, The Dragon Path, was just being solicited. I believe it came out on May 18th worldwide.
Yes, it did.
Yeah. So tell me about. I got it right here. Tell me about it. How did everything work out with the sales and the book? I know you've been getting written up a lot. How's that been for you?
I mean, it's been pretty exciting. Like, I'm kind of learning how to be a little bit more patient with the way the press rolls out for a middle grade book, because with book sales in the book market versus the comic book market, what we're really looking at now is the long term of the entire fiscal year. We're looking at like sales when book fairs start opening up, with schools opening up again, and book clubs and such. And we're tracking book sales week to week. Whereas in comics, in the direct market, like so much of it depends on like the pre-orders in that very first week of release, the first couple of weeks. So it's kind of like that huge dump versus like the little slow drip of positive feedback with the Dragon Path. And I've learned also that it's important for parents to kind of, if your kids like it, please leave the review, because I'm pretty sure an 8-year-old is not going to log on and leave a positive review for my book. So please do so on behalf of your kid if your kid enjoyed my book.
That's kind of fascinating too, because I guess that's the huge difference between putting a comic book on the shelf and then doing this through a different venue, where, like you said, like I never thought about that, where it's like, oh no, like it's like the initial release and then it's going to be listed in all this other stuff through Scholastic, right?
Yeah, exactly. With like the book fairs are going to be coming back, and that is really going to be, I don't want to use the term make or break, but that really will just, like, for many books, that is either what kind of kicks the book's sales into the stratosphere, or you'll find if your book might sink. Maybe it doesn't connect with wider audiences the way you had hoped. This is not to sound like a downer. I am very happy the book is going to be in the book fair, and I'm hoping it does really, really well, because I'm very proud of this book, and I would like to do more in the future.
It's a great book. Like, is this like a different kind of nervous now that you know that book fair stuff is coming up? Is this like your first book in that type of situation?
Yeah, I think so, because it's like you would definitely like to see larger royalty checks, I guess.
Yeah.
Sometime down the road. I know it's a little like uncouth to talk about money in that kind of situation, but yeah, like I think like every artist, every creator kind of, they keep working on their own, for lack of a better word, IP. And not that your mind is always on large paychecks, but obviously you want these books to not just sustain themselves, but be able to sustain, your work life as you move forward. So
right.
Yeah. And plus, I think it's just, it kind of lends more credibility to the book itself. Like, oh, look at the numbers it's bringing in. This justifies the second volume or the third volume or the fourth volume. Whereas when I used to work in comics, and I'm pretty sure you saw this as well for many years, just talking to creators, it's like, oh, I did a miniseries. I hope it breaks even, because I would love to do another one. And this is the only thing I love to do, and it's my passion. And there's a part of me that's still like that like, that's very romantic and very quixotic about these kind of things, that like, well, if this is your passion, the money shouldn't matter. But it's like, well, the money should matter, because
right.
We have mortgages. So
yeah, you're a human being and you need to eat and pay rent and all that stuff, but also, like, from what I've found just by talking to creators, like writers and artists, inkers, colorists across the board, it's like they're so passionate about what they do, but then to make that leap from the passion to the full time, I feel like there's like a lot of in between that needs to happen to make that work, you know. And you're a full time creator, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah. It took. I don't know if we talked about this last time, but like from when I first started like self-publishing in
mm,
'05, it took probably about like a good 10 or so years before like comic book work was a little bit more steady. Like in between that was a lot of freelance stuff for things that people will never even really see. And if they do see it, they don't know, they don't even care that there's an artist attached to it.
right,
Um,
right. It's just like n- filler is the wrong word, but it's just it's stuff that I think, because I'm almost in the same situation too, where like I'm a photographer and there's some stuff that I've done where it's like I know this will never really see the light of day, and it doesn't matter because that's how I'm paying my bills. You know what I mean? Like it would be nice to see stuff, but I know it's somewhere out there in the ether. You know, is that
yeah.
kind of almost what you're saying?
Yeah. Like, when I first started out, it was, I mean, the avenues to kind of go down to find freelance comic book work was also a little bit more narrow just
Mhm.
because this was before social media. And I think you had to like really look at forums to
Mhm.
basically find um like work for hire jobs within comic books. And then within those, you weren't going to find jobs that had a lot of equity to them.
Okay.
There would be things like, all right, looking for an inker. I'm offering $5 a page, and it's
Mhm.
like, okay, well, no,
Yeah, yeah,
I'm not even
yeah.
gonna apply for that. And those are like, the kind of, I'm pretty sure there's still exploitative jobs like that
Oh yeah.
that are still around. But it was just kind of like, yeah, I knew at that time, even as stubborn and kind of conceited as I was like, uh, I know I can do better than this.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
like it's better that like it's, I worked the odd jobs, and then I traded favors with a programmer to just kind of have a site made up so that I would look a little bit more professional.
Mhm.
And then I just made business cards and started going to meetings, putting on a real shirt, not like a tank top like now. So and having to like field coffee meetings and yeah, try to look more professional, like I was running my own studio or something.
Yeah, but I mean, like that's the goal, right? The goal is to work hard so that you could do something that you want to do full time and then dress however you want. You know, like
Yeah, yeah, I
you
kind
know,
of made that full circle now. I was like, I can dress however I want now.
which is true. And it's like I was like uh one of the things that not I shouldn't say that's one of the impetuses for me to start my own business, but it was definitely like the plus of like, oh, I can wear whatever I want, depending on the gig, obviously. Like if I'm gonna shoot like a corporate gig, I'm not gonna show up in like jeans and like a Motorhead t-shirt, you know what I mean? Like, but like for the most part, I'm like, dude, I can dress however I want. This is great. I can wear sneakers all the time, and it's
Yeah,
awesome, you know.
but
Um,
yeah, so going back to your point about the direct market,
yeah.
yeah, like I still want to do like comics are still in my blood, and there's still like a lot of direct market stuff I still
Mhm.
want to accomplish just for like my own ego, I guess you could say. Like there's still certain things I want to accomplish in the direct market. Like
Yeah.
yeah, hopefully I'm getting there. Like I'm doing more variant covers now than I've ever done before, which was like that was a goal that I set for myself at one point. I'm like, I want to become a cover artist.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's what I want to do.
Well, you've been putting out I think in the last 6 months, I want to say you've been putting out more stuff than you ever have been in terms of like commissions and covers and the variants and like you've like landed some really really cool stuff, like how's that been? Like have people been just like reaching out before the Dragon Path, or when the Dragon Path hit, people were like, oh, let's get Ethan on this stuff?
Well, the people who've been reaching out for the Dragon Path have been more like, um, I guess you could say the more academic side, or the more,
Mhm.
it'd be like librarians or like
Mhm.
journalists. Like for instance, Dragon Path was just mentioned in an NPR article, which
Awesome.
was really great. The funny thing is, since I started doing commissions, the commissions have actually brought in some more variant cover work just
Mhm.
because it's the stuff I think this is part of social media's influence, which is
Mhm.
just you put out a commission and it looks nice at first glance, and the reality is it's kind of like um, it's kind of like fast food in a way in terms of
Mhm.
how we consume art, which is just it's good, it's nutritional value, it could be dubious, but it's good. And then you look at it
Uh-huh.
at first glance, and then it's easy to pass along. It's not like passing along an article. It's not like
Mhm.
passing along information about a book. It's just
Mhm.
look at this really cool Batman drawing, and that in and of like that becomes something that can fulfill its own like what do you call it, like viral cycle. Like I found that like, yeah, there's certain
Mhm.
images that'll just be passed along easier than other images. And so like yeah, I did Usagi Ojimbo Leonardo commission, and that's
Mhm.
actually how I landed um an Usagi Ojimbo variant cover, just
Oh
because
wow.
yeah, eventually like yeah, it's one of those things where like you sometimes don't realize which editor is going to actually see it. And so
uh
I've learned that now, which is just kind of like I stayed away from doing commissions for so long in my career
Yeah.
just because um I think at the time in my 20s, I just didn't think it would be worth it
Mhm.
because in my 20s, before publishing Nanjing or doing the Dark Horse books, it's like, oh, what can I really charge? Like, and
Mhm.
it's like, yeah, I'd rather spend that time doing something else. And so now that I think my career has reached a certain point where I can charge something that justifies the time spent on it, because
Okay.
I'm going to give you a good commission if you order one from me.
Right.
Um, like now I've found that like, oh, more people are discovering my work. I shouldn't have been such an asshole about it.
I don't think you're an asshole about it. I feel like, like a lot of artists do that where, there's just I don't think I personally don't see it specifically from you as like being a jerk, but it's like it's okay that it's not something you wanted to do,
Okay.
but I think now, like I follow you on all the social medias and we're buddies, and like it's really cool seeing what you're doing, um now as far as like I'm gonna ask you a money question, but not a direct money question.
Okay, sure.
So your cover rate comparable to like a full-blown commission rate, what's like what's the like if I was like, hey Ethan, can you draw me like I don't know, like the Bat Family, full blown, like 11 by 17. And then let's say a company sees that and they go, hey, can you draw this cover? I'm assuming you'll get more from the company than the person.
Well, if it's the Bat Family, then I'm assuming DC would pay more.
Right, right.
Well, DC and Marvel haven't approached me yet, but in terms of like the indie companies, yeah, they're actually pretty. Most of them are pretty comparable to what
Yeah.
I would charge for an 11 by 17. Some obviously pay a little bit less, and and I think that's really more reflective of what their standing is within the direct market, like what kind
Okay.
of market share they have.
Mhm.
Um, so sometimes it's one of those things where like you have to be a little bit realistic about what you ask from them.
Mhm.
But that's also one of the reasons why I've kind of also been a little bit more, I guess, picky about some of the projects that I choose in
Mhm.
terms of which covers, because now I'm also looking at okay, if I take a little less money to do this because that's the best they
Mhm.
can offer, can I actually flip this later on and sell the original art for it? Because if the answer is no,
Interesting.
then it's just well, I just took something that's half my usual rate. So those are certain things that I think compensate when you move forward. Just kind of deciding on all these on the variant covers that you'll take, and I know it sounds like a first world problem to talk about all the stuff that you get to pick and choose.
Yeah. But you know what? Like, that's okay. I think it's like the business of comic books, I think, is very fascinating because it's something that people aren't really exposed to. You know what I mean? And like I'll hear like what you were just talking about like what's the equity of you doing X, Y, and Z in the future? Like if this book takes off, could I sell this original piece? And it's not, and I know from you, that's not a place of greed. That's a place of like, I might need a couple of bucks one day, like you got a family, you told me you were going to move into a new house. So I think that's a very sensible approach to it. But then there's so many people in comic shops that just like love to complain about everything. And from my perspective is like, well, you don't know it's a business, you know, like you don't really know what's going on because you're not in that business. And it's very fascinating to hear like the quote unquote like business of comic books, you know. um a good example I think would be like, are you holding on to that Walking Dead variant you did, the original?
No, I actually do have it for sale. I might be charging a little bit too much for it. I
Oh
don't
yeah.
know.
Is it on your website?
It is. It is. So if
Okay.
anyone's interested, they can still go look for it. Yeah.
What do you have it at right now?
I have it at 1,000. I originally had it at 1,200 because I was like, what can I really get for it? I
Yeah.
might have to do, like, I don't know. I think 1,000 is fair for a Walking
Mhm.
Dead original cover.
Absolutely, and that's a great cover too. Like when you showed me
Thanks.
the finish, I was like, "Holy shit, this is awesome!"
I think I knew, like, yeah, like, Rich is gonna appreciate this. I'm gonna show it to him.
I appreciate that, man. It was really cool. Like all the variant covers you're doing are good. I do think that I do think Marvel and DC will approach you at some point, you know. But that's a fascinating thing too. Where if they were like, "Hey, do a Thor variant cover," would that be something you're like, "I'm gonna put this original aside for a little bit"?
No, I think if anything, even less so, just because as much as I love the big two comic books, I have even less like emotional attachment to some of them, just because
Okay.
uh, to me, though, they'll always be like, this is great entertainment. Like
Mhm.
the covers that I have held on to are actually my Ronin Island covers, just
Oh,
because
cool. Okay.
it was they hold a special place in my heart, just because that was the first time that like a company, boom, like
Mhm.
approached me and they were like, we really want you to do like a series of covers. And at that
Mhm.
time, I had done only two variant covers.
Okay.
So like to have a company kind of like put their faith in me based really on just like a small sample of my work was something that was
Mhm.
like really gratifying to me at the time. So they hold a special place in my heart. That and I'm um at the risk of sounding really egotistical, like like they're the kind of covers like I generally when I finish my work, I'm like, all right, time to try to do something better. But
Mhm.
after I like the Ronin 9 covers, there's still things that I look at and I'm like, damn, I drew that pretty well.
Yeah. Well, I think that comes, you know, it's not egotistic. I think that comes with the territory where it's like, you know, like from my experience of talking to like so many artists, it's like, you know, if they drew like a radio perfectly, I think that's what does it for, you know what I mean? That's what that the tiny details I think resonate across the board, you know, where it's like, okay, great. Here's Superman smashing through a planet, but also look at Clark Kent's room and all the stuff hanging
Right.
there that's drawn and rendered like perfectly. You know, I totally get that. So as far as Dragon Path goes, do you see yourself doing more, or are you still kind of waiting for the rest of the year to see how that turns out?
Well, I do have like ideas for more stories
Mhm.
and I have talked to my publisher about it, but you know, with the acquisition process with a middle grade book within the book market is just so
Mhm.
much more complicated. It's so much more involved in
Mhm.
terms of who they bring in to make these kinds of decisions that it's not something where the publisher can just be like, well, I really like you, Ethan, so I'm gonna
Right.
track this or approve this.
Mhm.
I mean, unless the sales in the first 3 months were just like astronomical,
Mhm.
it is unfortunately too early to tell whether or not Dragon Path 2 and 3 can be approved.
Mhm.
Uh, they have to look at the whole year worth of sales. Like when I first um, even had Dragon Path considered, like it was surprising to me just how many different elements, how many different voices are involved
Mhm.
with the acquisition process of a book like this. Just because I didn't realize, like, oh, you know, you're the publisher, but they go to like booksellers, they go to
Mhm.
people who are essentially the gatekeepers of whether or not a middle grade graphic novel is going to do well. And there were times like we even had to change the cover. Like at one point, I thought
Oh
the cover
wow.
was done, like finalized. I just sent you the gigantic PDF. We're fucking done with this.
Uh,
Sorry, person. Um, uh, I'll keep my mouth clean. I'm sorry about
no,
that.
that's
So
fine. It's okay.
okay, and
And you
then
you have three more f bombs left, I think.
I'm sorry.
No, it's
And
fine.
And then at one point, my designer was just he emails me. No, he calls me. It was a straight phone call, and I was like, "Oh, this is weird. I better pick it up." And it's like, "All right, we just had a book, some book buyer.
Mhm.
I'm assuming Barnes and Noble or something. Just tell us this cover is fine, but we need more dragon in it. And so we had to change the cover, which was finalized. We had to change it again based on the opinion of a book buyer. And this, I know this comes off like I'm complaining. It's fine now that the process is done. My blood pressure come back down, and I'm a little less precious about the entire process as I used to be. Than I used to be. But yeah, it's much more involved. Like I talk to comic book creators sometimes that are just in the direct market, and they want to come over to the book market. And I understand that the potential for a successful book is greater. The potential to reach a wider audience is greater. But having known many comic book artists and how they think, like I have to give them that warning. Like the stuff that you think you're not going to have to change, you're going to have to change a lot. Like in comic books, it's like, oh, here's a layout. Once it's approved, you pencil it, you ink it, you color it. And unless something is drastically off license or drastically off, like, oh, that is completely the wrong color of that helmet or something. Most of the times it's like you send it in and that's it. Like with doing like a mainstream, like a book that is mainstream book market, like you'll be finished and then you'll go through like several rounds, maybe even half a dozen rounds of copy edits and revisions on stuff that you thought was finalized. So that's a big piece of advice I give to like direct market comic creators who want to come over. Like you have to stop treating your work as precious. Like this isn't Mobius. Like you're not making Daredevil Born Again, all right?
So, but that's completely fascinating because there's so many things that really go into that, and being able to kind of break away from that mindset that you would have in mainstream books or even in indie books, was there a lot of like editing internally done on the book, or was it just kind of like more aesthetic, like you were saying, like the cover, etc., or were they like really going through it and going like, you know what, on page 23 we'd really like X, Y, and Z?
Oh no, they really went through it.
And wow, okay.
It's like I said, like I started just by doing everything myself back in 05, and I think part of it was just because, well, I don't want external voices influencing my work. Like I'm myself. This is real, pure art. This is how it should be. And the reality is, like I said, like you have to kind of give up some of that mentality, but also just like you have to adapt and also adopt a more flexible way of thinking about comic books when you come into the middle grade market or the YA market for that matter, just because like, I'm not saying they're always right, but listen to voices that have a little bit more experience than you, and in many cases, a lot more experience than you in selling to a wider audience, just because they've seen what works, they've seen what doesn't. Like I said, sometimes they can be wrong, and you are allowed to vouch for yourself. You're allowed to kind of debate it. But more or less, you will have to give up some of the, like I said, some of that precious feeling you hold for your work as well.
Right. I think that precious feeling might just be like ego stinging, like, oh, what do you mean I'm not talking about you in general, but I mean like you, I'm just like in general, it's got to be like, what do you mean I'm not the best? Like,
oh no, that's still me talking. Don't worry about it. Still me talking.
So like, okay, so I'm a big proponent of, I'm not saying people shouldn't do their own stuff the way they want to, but I find the editing process and that process very fascinating, because like I'll read stuff from creators I like that were like Kickstarter projects or like really, really indie books that have like zero editing. And honestly, like more often than not, I walk away going, this book could have used an editor, like this could have definitely used an editor. Like this is not as good as I thought it was going to be, but, and I think that's just like, there's an argument to say, especially I think in the case of the Dragon Path, where it's like, you're working with people who know what they're doing, like this is their thing. And like the art and the writing, that's your thing. And I'm sure there was like a happy middle ground,
Yeah, there was. I mean, the way I see it too, and this is kind of like a more methodical way of approaching it, almost like a poker game, which is I will do 3 changes for every 1 change I want to reject. And I better be careful about what it is I want to what it is I want to keep,
Okay.
what I want to reject. And it better be something that I can argue with, uh, obviously, in a polite manner,
Uh,
but also like I had to make my case, like, hey, no, this is why it has to stay this way,
mhm.
because moving forward, that'd be kind of weird,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
et cetera, et cetera.
So how has the this is I'm trying to phrase this question properly. Because not only are you getting feedback from comic book fans, you're getting feedback from young adult fans too, right? Now, is that something that you haven't experienced before, or is that like something kind of different, you know?
Yeah, I mean, with Bridget Lee, it was kind of at Dark Horse. It was kind of
Mm,
marketed as a YA book, even though we didn't really get that much exposure in that
mm,
market. Just because, like, this is what I discovered too. Like,
mm.
you can publish something in a YA or middle grade format. It doesn't mean that the book buyers will actually buy it. Like,
Right.
the reality is, and I tell this to new creators now, like, the gatekeepers are not going to be the ones who are the loudest on Twitter or something like that. Like, the gatekeepers
Right,
are
right.
people who are probably not even on social media,
Yeah.
and you're not going to know who they are. So
Yeah.
that's just the reality of it.
I think that goes with like every industry, you know, where it's like the people who are doing, like the executives who are doing the work, really don't care. They're just getting the job done. You know, they're
Yeah,
not going on Twitter going like, oh, this is stupid, blah blah blah. Blah. You know, they're actually doing something, you know, instead of
yeah.
complaining.
So with Bridget Lee, several years ago, like there were
Mm,
some young people who enjoyed it, and I appreciated that.
mm,
Um, but with the Dragon Path, and yeah, credit to graphics and credit to their editing, they kind of helped me make the best book possible.
mm.
I found that, like, yeah, it's striking a chord. Like, I'm hearing from parents, I'm hearing from sometimes from kids themselves. Like, I had like my friend threw me like a backyard book release party because
Oh,
of
that's awesome.
and everything. And yeah, it's really satisfying to hear like kids um not just enjoy the book, but really kind of get what it was about. Like, they got
Mm,
like the relationship between the boy and the cat is important.
yeah.
They like the action. And I've also found that, like, when you're younger and you have no filter, you just ask questions. And
Yeah.
sometimes they ask questions where I was just kind of like, kid, that's just like the aesthetic choice I made. I had no reason to put that there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think that's funny too, like those unabashed childhood questions, you know. Okay. What so you generally draw on 11 by 17, right? Like your pages?
Yeah, for the most part, yeah.
What was the choice to make the book like in this format, yours or was it theirs? Just because it's a very nice, it's very aesthetically, like it's nice. It's very cool.
Um, I think when I pitched it as a 6 by 9 book, and
Okay.
drawing on 11 by 17 just kind of allows, like, A, I'm comfortable with that, and
Mm,
B, it just allows me to put in more detail. But
yeah.
because I hand letter everything in my own work, I like 11 by 17 allows me a greater canvas, a bigger
Mm,
canvas, to kind of put my lettering in there.
yeah. But I feel like that would be tough, right? If you were like, I want it to be this size, but then you're doing it on a smaller scale. You
Yeah, if
know?
it was a 9 by 12, I probably wouldn't be able to hand letter it. And moving forward, I don't know if I'll actually hand letter all my books from now on, just because, yeah, as I'm getting older now, I'm kind of real like I think this is my own personal growth now, where I realize,
Mm,
like, oh, there are certain things that are okay to just kind of give up a little bit, like
mm.
lettering my own books too.
Okay, so I got a question about that. When are you're doing the pages without the word balloons, right?
No, I,
Or
I hand letter most of my books. I hand letter.
no, but I'm saying like the actual, like you're inking with the word balloon in the page, and then you're
Yeah.
lettering on top of that, or are you doing like an old school, like kind of cut and paste method?
Oh, no, no, no. So not the cut and paste method. Like,
Okay.
just right on the page.
Oh wow, that's awesome, man. That must be a real pain, by the way.
Uh, yeah, a little bit. And also,
Mm,
like, I kind of went the other way in terms of
uh-huh.
I was offered a computer, like a computer version, a computer font based on my handwriting. But
Oh
I
wow.
found, like, if you're not a professional letterer,
Mhm.
your handwriting, if it's turned into a font, will just look like Comic Sans. And I just feel like, well, you might as well just use Comic Sans at that point.
Interesting. Okay, that's an
So,
interesting point.
and this is not to like, I don't want to bash anyone who wants to do that. That's perfectly fine. But
Yeah.
like, there's a reason there's a professional letterer and a non-professional letterer. So I know I'm not a professional letterer, but
Mhm.
I do like my own handwriting. But it has to. So that's why I hand lettered it, and then I would go in to when I scanned it into Photoshop, I would
Mhm.
kind of use Photoshop just to kind of fix the kerning and the spacing of
Oh,
everything.
interesting. Okay.
So it went from handwriting that was a little sloppy in points to like as perfect as my handwriting could ever realistically be.
Wow, that's very meticulous. What are you
Yeah, it's
work?
also kind of stupid to do that, so
No,
I might do that in the
yeah.
future.
Well, I mean, like as long as it got approved, right? Because they weren't, like, was that one of the things that Scholastic mentioned, or they were like, all right,
You know,
we're cool with this?
shockingly, you would think that having sloppy handwriting would be on the top of their list of no-nos, but
Mhm.
it actually isn't. And I looked at some
It's
of their other
interesting.
books, and I think they appreciate that like the audience also likes the authenticity of handwriting, and I
Yes,
think that's why they like it. Like, because there's no other reason for it. I think.
I could see that. That's another. There's so many layers to this that it's always fascinating. I feel like even like the more people I talk to, there's still so many more questions about like the process and all this stuff, and then like the back end stuff, and then the forward stuff. What are you working on now? If you can talk about anything.
I could talk about it in very vague terms.
Okay.
So I'm doing an adaptation of a middle grade book for graphics right now.
Okay.
Um, and so I'm turning that novel into a graphic novel, and hopefully it's like the first in a series. So I'm kind
Mhm.
of like directing the pilot episode, I guess you could say,
Okay.
uh, of launching this new graphic novel series for graphics. I don't think I'm allowed to say it yet, but
Sure. You
yeah,
don't. Don't worry
I
about it.
lay out. And then I have a couple of pitches out to. I think I mentioned earlier. I still want to. I'm very stubborn, and I still want to do a lot of direct market stuff.
Yeah.
So I got a couple of mini series out right now in terms of like the pitch and everything. And once you stop recording, I'll tell you what it
Sure.
is.
No problem. No problem. I get
And
the.
I still got ideas out for Dragon Path 2, so still kind of
Awesome.
finding those ideas. And yeah, just kind of managing Dragon Path right now. It's
Mm,
kind of like when Nanjing first hit, when I first
mm.
met you, it was kind of like, all right, this book is getting some press. I got to manage that throughout. Like I was milking Dragon Path for like 2-3 years before like the buzz around it like really just died a big stumpy death.
Dragon Path or Nanjing?
Oh, Nanjing, I'm sorry.
Yeah. So this must. I feel like you seem like from what I gather, it seems like a kind of like a big load was taken off your shoulders now that the book is out.
Yeah, I'm a little bit more well, just because I recently talked to like my publisher because
Mhm.
because like with comics, like I said, like because I don't know how many listeners know this or not. I'm guessing they know this already. Like
Mhm.
Diamond is non-returnable, so and
Yeah.
especially when you're launching a graphic novel in the direct market, it's like, all right, those pre-orders are going to matter. It's going to be 99% of what matters in
Right.
terms of
Right.
whether this graphic novel sinks or swims. And so with Nanjing, okay, it swims. With Nanjing,
Mhm.
we know it's going to make a little bit of money. With Nanjing, we know these are the positive reviews that are coming in.
Mhm.
Those first couple of weeks are the most important. And like I said, I just kind of milked that for 2 years.
Yeah.
And then when the comics award season came along, that kind of gave it a new bump and everything. And
uh,
so yeah, Nanjing lived the life it was going to live as a graphic novel in the direct market,
mhm.
and it did okay in the book market. Um, and so yeah, so with Dragon Path, when you first talked to me about it several months ago, with Dragon Path, I was really anxious because all right, this is the first my first like big book
Mhm.
this corner of the book market. I have no idea how it's going to do.
Mhm.
Um, and if anything, my editors at times was like a little cagey about like I was like, just give me a ballpark number of what you expect. And like, we don't know. We don't
Uh,
know. I'm like, oh my God, this is not good for my blood pressure right now. This is not good. Bro, I'm a neurotic person. I'm a New Yorker. You're a New Yorker. You know
Yeah.
what it is.
Oh
All
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
And so like I was just so neurotic about it. And then after a few months, I finally had a phone call with my publisher, and he's like, you know what, Ethan? The book's doing okay. Like there's some new releases not selling as well, and there's some new releases selling better, but
Uh-huh.
it's selling what we expect. And I just kind of I asked them straight up. I put it on Front Street as Kevin Smith would say. I was like, just tell me, is it bad? Like, is it bad? And it's like, no, 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 it's not bad, Ethan. It's not bad. It's fine.
All right, good, good, good.
So that was like a huge load off my chest because like that's what I worry about because it's like, I spent 2 years on this, like two and a half, like I spent 2 years working on this, but I spent like the 8 months before, like 8 months in 2018, just kind of like getting the pitch together, like waiting for answers to come back. And so I just wanted to make sure like this was not a waste of my time. This was not a waste of my publisher's time. I want to make sure that this book does well enough so that it justifies everyone's effort that was put into making it, marketing it, finding it, pushing it, all that stuff.
It's a lot of moving parts. I got one last kind of like process question for you.
Sure.
So how did you script the book out beforehand, and in what way did you do it? Like, for example, did you write the full story on, let's say, like Microsoft Word, or did you use like Final Draft, or was it just layouts with notations?
Um, it's kind of a combination of everything. In the past, I would only do like layouts, and I would have like like a rough outline, and I was like I said, I used to be very precious about my own personal process. Like, no, 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 this is how I work. This is how I feel. Feel free. Um, but with graphics, with Scholastic, they're like, no, no, I want to see an outline. And so I wrote a very, very thorough outline. And then from there, because I knew like my brain just doesn't really click if I have to write it out like panel 1, panel 2, panel 3. I just jumped straight into layouts or storyboards, however you want to refer to them, with the word bubbles in there. And like through that process, I was able to write and self-edit. And then, once those storyboards are done, and I can get like maybe 5 pages of that done a day.
Wow.
Assuming my son's behaving well, because well, just with school and everything. Yeah, like that goes through its round of edits. And then, as you finish the book, then it's like, all right, then the next edits come, then the next edits come. So you just have to roll with it. And it's a long process until it's finally in everyone's hands. And then here's the thing. When it's finally in your hands, the funny thing is there'll still be a couple of mistakes missed here or there. And my publisher will be like, good enough. It's good enough. That's
interesting. Okay. Did you catch any mistakes on after it was in your hand?
I wouldn't call them mistakes so much as just like, I probably should have colored that differently. Like I use a lot of like brown and earthy tones in the book. And sometimes that kind of mucks up the contrast that I think is needed in comics coloring. And I should have went back and just tried to made sure that like the contrast was a little pumped up more. But other than that, I think I did a decent job, I think.
I think you did a great job. So are you sending Scholastic like full blown super detailed PDFs of each page?
When they're done, yeah. Like
wow.
Well, I put them in a PDF myself, but yeah, I try to. I think I want to make, when the pages are done and I send them like a huge batch of pages while I'm working, I want them to be as impressive as possible, so that first impression kind of staves off too much criticism later on.
Okay.
Like, remember how impressed you were before you go through the edits.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Yeah, dude, I'm very excited for you. I want everybody to pick up the Dragon Path. It's pretty fantastic. It's out from Scholastic. You can get it at your bookstores. You can get it at your comic stores. I think it's available everywhere on Amazon, right?
Yeah, it should be.
Awesome, dude. You want to talk about toys?
Oh, yeah. So I got 2 new babies. And since the last time I talked to you, the first The first is my Boba Fett 40th anniversary of Empire Strikes Back,
Wow.
which is this thing is just gorgeous, and I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure all your listeners know that you know there's nothing like holding a hot toy in your hand.
No, they're nuts, man. Like sometimes I avoid looking at the website just because it's so tempting. Like my birthday was last month. My wife ordered me she ordered me the Miles Morales figure that's supposed to come out this year, right? Like
Oh,
with the jacket and the whole thing and like all the heads and then my wife could for the most part care less about like any of this stuff, but she turned to me and was like, yeah, there's so much cool shit on this website. Like there's so much cool stuff. Like I wanted to get you this, I wanted to get you that, and then I saw the Star Wars stuff and I wanted to get you that, and I was like, see, that's why I don't look at it. And I think last month they previewed the Luke from the Mandalorian.
mm-hmm.
I think we talked about that like on direct message, right? Like
I don't know. I don't know if we talked about the Luke. We definitely talked about many other Hot Toys figures. I don't know if we talked about the Luke.
yeah, I may pull the trigger on the Luke because um the Luke it's season finale of Mandalorian Luke, so he's got the Jedi robe and everything. He comes with a little Grogu, and he also comes with a smushed droid.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so it's like one of the pictures on the Sideshow website. It's like his hand is out, and then you see like the body of the droid like all crushed. And I was like, oh no, he doesn't come with this, does he? And then it shows like the package picture, and it's like, oh dude, like he comes with so much cool stuff.
And then I also have this one. You turned me on to these, and for a while I didn't. I wasn't paying attention to what Super Seven did.
Uh
But yeah, you turned me on to the Ultimates figures,
so good.
and you know, anyone who collected the Playmates figures as a kid knows just how great this figure is. Now I showed this to my wife, and like she's only a fan of the all red costumes because she grew up with those comics.
Oh wow, okay.
And so she looked at me, she kind of gave me like a quizzical look when I showed her this because she's like, I don't understand why you love this toy so much. It's so ugly.
Yeah, yeah.
And I told her about like just like I hadn't even seen the episode when I was a kid, but I saw the toy, I bought the toy. And I remember I bought the toy at KB Toys on Broadway, and you remember the store, I'm
Oh,
assuming.
yeah.
And it was like the end of Christmas sale, and so they were selling off all the Ninja Turtles like 3 for $10. I got the Dagio Jimbo, I got the Donatello with the shell that opens up so you could put all the junk inside, and
Oh
I got
yeah.
like I just saw Mutagen Man. I'm like, this is crazy. He's got all this detail. It's nuts. And I actually, funny enough, I dug out like, just to prove to my wife how much I love the toy. I dug out my old Mutagen Man that I broke,
Oh
and
wow.
that was the body and the yellowed casing left.
Oh my god.
I have no idea what happened to the rest of the limbs.
Probably got smushed up somewhere. Yeah, those Super 7 figures are awesome, man. Like I again, like for me, that's like I'll get one every so often. Like I picked up Lino from the Thundercats line.
Mm-hmm.
It looks great. I pre-ordered the ultimate Optimus Prime because I'm a big Transformers guy.
Right.
And it's like animated Optimus, and then I pre-ordered the Cobra Commander, like the cartoon-looking Cobra Commander. Which those look so good, man. I'm sorry I turned you on to them because I feel like
no, it's I just got the Michelangelo and the Metalhead the recent wave, and I'm looking at them and I'm like, you know what? The Rocksteady and the Bebop actually look really good too. And like I already have the ones from the Nika line.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I don't know if I can justify owning 2 versions of Bebop and Rocksteady in my house. You know?
Yeah, you know what? Like, I think what really makes those Super 7 figures is that they're just a little bigger and they're just a little thicker. Like that Bebop up close looks really, really nice. And I know I'm gonna break down and get Mondo Gecko at some point or like Ray Fillet because I always like the obscure guys that showed up later on in the cartoon show. You know, like Metalhead. He's another one. And I think they're doing go ahead.
Oh, and I was just gonna say the other day at Target we saw like my Target doesn't always get the Nika figures, but they just had like, a huge slew of like Mondo Geckos, and it was just like stuck in some corner.
Oh wow!
And I looked at them. This looks great, and the one's based on the cartoon, and like these look fantastic. But I can't justify this right now just because I'm running out of space. And like at my computer, I used to have a little bit more room, but it's now full of two Hot Toys and a bunch of Ninja Turtles all over it now. So I had to be a little bit more careful and yeah.
Yeah, you got to be a little more. You got to curate a little bit.
A
That's
little
usually
bit. A
that's
little.
usually what I do. Like I don't do like the full sets. Like I can't do it because it's like the last I got the Super 7 New Japan Pro Wrestling figures as a
Okay.
set. And I'm like, because these are cool. Like, who knows if they're gonna make more of these, or who knows where these, like something like that. Or I'm like, what's really the longevity of these being on the shelf, kind of
Right.
thing. Because it's such a specific like niche.
Yeah, my wife, she loves brown, tan and gold. No, the tan and gold Wolverine costume.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
And I don't know if you saw Mondo. They're doing the yellow and blue costume,
Yeah.
but then they did the Pride of the X-Men version, limited to 500 units. And I showed it to my wife, and she said, "This looks awesome. How much is it?" And I said, "It's $200, and you actually have to order it right away because it's only 500 units." And she's like, "No, that's too much money." And I'm like, "It's actually not." And we got into this debate about how much toys should cost. And I'm like, "I'm sorry to tell you this, sweetie, but $200 for a 12-inch figure that's limited edition is actually pretty reasonable."
Yeah.
I mean, within toy collecting, like to a non-toy collector, they would think we're fucking nuts. Sorry again. Like they think we're nuts for spending this much money on a figure.
Like I think as long as you're not spending all your money and you can pay your rent and all that stuff or whatever, and like support your family, that's cool. Like my brother has like, he's got a family upstate, wife, kid, beautiful house, a steady job. And like, he can buy all this stuff and it's cool. Like he gets like a bunch of stuff and he's always showing me like pictures, and there's always like an interesting, I think the price debate is always fascinating. So like I picked up this recently. This is like an AEW Adam Page figure. $22 figure, but the packaging is beautiful on this. You get like the little fake signature and all that, like the accessories. It's really nice packaging. And then I think sometimes you'll see like a $50 or $40 figure and you're like, this is a little too much, like it doesn't look that good. I don't know why I should spend like 50 or $60 on this.
Are you talking about like Mayfex figures or SH Figuarts figures?
Oh, you know what? The Mayfex figures I'm still on the fence with.
I wish they were bigger for what you're paying for them.
Like I'll put it to you this way. Like I have no problem receiving them as gifts, but I wouldn't buy one on my own, unless it's on sale. Like I got a Man of Steel Superman for like $40 last year.
Oh,
And
okay.
so I'm like, that's a excellent price point for a figure that was like $100, and I'm fine with that.
Right. I think like my wife likes the Mezco figures because it's like a hot toy but tiny. And the sculpting's not as good, but it comes with all these clothes. And I think it's just like if it still comes with all those clothes that look like you might be able to like take them off, I think that's what appeals to her, just because it still has that like high-end quality to it without that extravagant price of $300.
Yes, I'll agree with that. I'll agree with that 100%. A couple of years ago, I did like I treated myself. Like I was like, all right, if I don't drink for 30 days, like nothing. Like if I don't drink for 30 days, I'm gonna get that Cyclops Mezco. And you know what? I love that figure. Like you said, it comes with. Did you pick that figure up or no?
No, but now I'm looking at sideshows for X-Men figures.
Yeah.
And my wife likes the Magneto. I think the costume's a little bit too reddish. Like, I know it's supposed to be red, but it's like because they're not doing like any like modern revised tailoring to it. They're just making it look very classic. It just looks like a big splotch of color. Whereas when you look at the Gambit figure they're making, it's got some more detailing to it. It's got the trench coat, and I'm looking at that figure and I'm like, oh my god, that might be worth $250.
Yeah, like they're so cool, man. Like I think what they've done with the Spider-Man stuff, I think, is so visually grabbing. Like the Spidey figures are great, the X-Men figures are good, but then there's like a dud in there. I think that Magneto I'd classify as a dud because it's just a red thing.
I wish I like the Wolverine one they have. I just wish it was a little bit more. I like Wolverine to be a little bit more bulky and ugly.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah, for sure. You don't want like thin, tall Wolverine. You want like
yeah,
short,
I
stout.
don't. Yeah, I want angry, ugly,
Mm.
unattractive Wolverine.
I want to see. I wouldn't mind like a really cool Beast figure, but I feel like, and it was one of my favorite characters. I feel like the stuff that the Legends put out isn't like hasn't hit the market.
Right. No, I
Uh,
agree.
what how do you feel? I got this. This is an awesome one. I don't know if you saw this. This is the
I did. I did.
keeping this one in the box for some reason because I usually like double up sometimes, and as soon as this is the Toei Japanese Spider-Man, Spider-Man from SH Figure Arts. As soon as I ordered it, it sold out like everywhere. So I'm like, oh, I kind of want to open it. I kind of don't want to open it. How do you open all your stuff or no?
So funny enough, you mentioned that. I haven't opened any of my Nika Ninja Turtles,
Mm-hmm.
the ones that were exclusive to Target. Mainly because now that I look at them and I see the Super 7 line,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like, I don't know if I need two of these. And I don't have it with me right here. It's actually downstairs.
Mm-hmm.
I put a reminder on my phone, and this was the only time I did this for a toy for the Super 7 Shogun Godzilla 3 and 3/4 inch retro figure.
Oh, that's cool.
And I should have doubled up on that because this, like you said, once it was the same experience as your Spider-Man. Like once I pre-ordered it, it was gone within like 30 minutes. And I should have thought ahead of time because I should have ordered one to keep in the box because the box is gorgeous, and then one to open up. And now I'm just probably never going to open it because I just, even though I don't plan to resell it, I know, and you know this, the second you open it, the value is gone. Well, not gone, but like
Yeah.
depleted.
Yeah. Absolutely. And it's kind of funny because like I got so much stuff in boxes, and then like I get so finicky sometimes where I'm like, you know what, I'm just gonna put all this on eBay, and I'm happy with that. Like, but I've been I've been getting the Storm Collectibles Mortal Kombat figures,
Right.
and as a point, I've started to order two of them just because like I know I'm gonna open one, and then one I'm like the nutty part about those figures is that they quadruple in value like 6 months down the line.
Really?
Yeah,
Is
dude.
it a
So it's
really
like,
limited run, or
I'm sorry.
is it a really, really limited run, or
I don't know if it's a limited run or like because I think I don't I really don't know. I want to do more research on it because Storm puts out a lot of stuff, right? Like I got this really nice Japanese wrestler Jushin Thunder Liger figure from Storm, right? $60 figure. It's still this, it hasn't gone up in value, and the figure's beautiful. And that was like a very limited figure. But whenever they release the Mortal Kombat guys, it's like they'll be, let's say, between $60 and $80, and then all of a sudden 4 or 5 months down the line those figures are like $250 each. Yeah, it's really nuts. And I sold a couple of them because I'm like, you know what, at this point I'm just not going to open it. And they're boxes, so you can't like put them on the wall. I have like a weird mentality with that kind of thing. So now I'm like trying to order two to open one and then at some point sell another, which is nuts.
yeah, I I didn't even debate whether or not I was going to keep the Super 7 Ninja Turtles boxed or unboxed just because they're so fun to play with. And like
Yeah.
every now and then while I'm working, I'll like play with Mutagen Man or like Baxter Stockman or something like that.
Yeah.
Just because, yeah, it is really like kind of giving you your childhood back a little bit just because not only are they based on the original Playmates toys, but like if anything, like the articulation's better now
Oh
and
yeah.
they're larger because you're older as well. So it's more fun.
Older and larger as well. But I think
All older and larger.
I think also the paint job and the detail on all these figures that are coming out now is like leaps and bounds of, especially in the last 2 years, like leaps and bounds anything we had when we were kids. Like they were like, we had amazing toys when we were kids, but now it's like like even the Marvel Legends, like a lot of the Legends look really, really good. I'm still on the fence about the McFarlane stuff because they look too McFarlane figure
Right.
for me, where yeah.
I have a lot of them. I mean, I love the Arkham Knight one that they put out of
Yeah.
Deathstroke and Batman. And the face sculpting for the Arkham Knight one is a lot better than
Yeah.
the one from Arkham Asylum. Just because with Arkham Asylum, I just feel like their Batman face was a little bit too long,
Yeah.
and like I'm fine with that in comic. When Kelly Jones drew it, I'm fine with that.
Mhm.
But when I'm playing him, and especially with Kevin Conroy's voice, I'm just like, nah, he's got to be more square jawed. He's got to be more bulky and wide.
Yeah. I think the ones based on the animated, like the Bruce Timm style, those are great. Like I got that Batman. And then I think I was in Target with my wife like not too long ago, and they had like the black suit Superman, like the I can't think of the guy's name, who Henry Cavill Superman,
Right.
and like it looks like his face is melting. I'm like some of them are so iffy. I'm like, why? But
Yeah.
that's just a gripe. There's a weird toy collector gripe.
Yeah. No. Sometimes I do feel like I want like just a good solid Flash figure, and they're
Yeah.
finally releasing the animated one, because the one that they had beforehand was just kind of like, I don't like the way the suit looks over tailored on the other
Yes.
Flash figure.
Are you which series are you talking about? Or
From
just
like
in general?
I don't know, I forgot which one it was. It was just a Flash figure that looked a little bit overdone. That's all.
Was it the one I like that my brother picked me up was the Injustice Flash based on the video game.
Oh, okay. It might have been that. I'm not a big Injustice guy. Sorry.
Okay, yeah, because those are really like they got the plating and they got like the segmented, like it's like segmented stuff plus like the mesh kind of
Right.
thing. I could see that. And speaking of the Flash too, I picked up
I do have my favorite McFarlane toy though, which is this big boy here.
oh, that thing's awesome, man.
Yeah, this is my third Bane now. So,
Oh, really? Are you
I effing love Bane. As like, if anyone from DC is listening, like if you want me to draw Bane, I'll draw Bane.
just like a Bane series?
Yeah, I just love there's just something great about Bane, because on the surface you think he's just all muscle.
uh
Um, but he's a tactician, and he's really methodical. And like,
Right.
when he was in prison, he really just he wanted to be better than Batman. And then he was given the opportunity to be better than Batman. He became a monster.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. How did you? I always like Bane too, but I like comic book Bane. I think way more than movie Bane or animated series Bane.
Uh Honestly, to tell you the truth, I like them all. And I understand why people don't like Tom Hardy's Bane, but like his
Yeah.
voice has became a griping annoyance, and now it's become like almost endearing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the Harley Quinn cartoon used his voice to comedic effect, and I thought that was really hilarious. But I loved Bane in when the anime series brought him back, and he kind of looked a little SNM-y, but he became like. Do you remember the episode where Scarecrow kind of doused Barbara, and then so her fear was that Gordon was hunting the Bat family,
Mm-hmm.
and then Gordon gets Bane to come back to kill Batman, and he is just so nasty and so evil, and I really love that Bane too.
Yeah. Are you? I think I might be wrong about this. I think Mondo is doing like a really nice animated looking Bane, like from
Are
the
they?
animated series. Yeah. Some company's doing it where it's like with the exposed nose
Okay.
and like the tights.
Well, I already have. Well, was it DC Direct that did those animated figures beforehand?
I know they did one, but I think I got to look it up. I know I saw a really nice looking animated Bane about to come out. And yes, DC Direct did a line of articulated animated series figures not too long ago.
And then I have the Bane build a figure from 2010, 2011. That might be enough Bane for me for now.
A lot of Bane, huh?
I do like Bane, but at the same time, it's like I think my wife's gonna start asking me like why I have so many Bane figures. Like I don't have a Tom Hardy Bane. I actually wouldn't mind.
Oh, if anybody's listening, send this guy a Tom Hardy Bane figure. I get the same way with I have like I pretty much get every Hellboy release.
Right.
Like I'll get like I have like the Mezco Hellboys, like the ones that Dark Horse put out with I forgot the name of the company. I think it's like 1,000 keys or something like that.
Oh, it wasn't 3-0? It just looked like a 3-0 figure to me.
I'm not 100% sure. It's like they did like comic book style Hellboy. I really got to remember the name of the company. And I'd collect. I got like a ton of Optimus Primes, like a variety of Optimus Primes, which are hard to keep up with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't Masterpiece is there a new Masterpiece Optimus now?
There's one that
Not
came.
MP44, like another one after him too.
Yeah, there's one that came out a couple of years ago, or a year, like about a year and a half ago. That was like, it's it's like a picture perfect Transformers the movie Optimus Prime. So
Oh,
when he's in robot form, he looks like a 2D car. It looks like a 2D animation, right? And then the truck transformation is like seamless. That thing's like $550, which is like a big no thank you. You know, I can't show up with that thing under my arm. Yeah, like my wife knows how much all this shit costs for the most part. You know.
oh man, yeah, it's hard to keep up with some of the high end toys. I agree with you.
So what else are you? What are you thinking about picking up this year?
Well, other than the other than the Super 7 Ninja Turtles
Hmm.
that I have on pre-order, um, let me think. I do have the Hot Toys classic Spider-Man costume from the PS4 game.
Oh yeah,
My wife is really excited because she's a huge TNG fan. TNG and X-Files were her two favorite shows growing up.
awesome.
So she's really excited for the new XO6 figure line.
Okay.
Uh, so we pre-ordered the data from First Contact.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, we already have Picard from the Quantum Mechanics line, and she's really just hoping that if we support XO6 enough, they'll eventually make a Garrick and Bashir figure from DS9.
That would be
Garrick is
awesome.
it's weird. Like she binged DS9 only a couple of years ago, and Garrick
Mm.
is now her favorite character in all Trek verse.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm trying to get my wife into Deep Space Nine because we did TNG together and she loved it, fell in love with it. Right? It's awesome. Like we'll put it on at night sometimes, like random episodes. It's easy to go to sleep because of the whooshing of the Enterprise. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? But Deep Space Nine, I feel like, is a harder sell because it's completely linear, so you can't really jump around.
Yeah, and plus like that first season is really rough to get through.
It is, and they're not upscaled yet.
Yeah.
I think Paramount like refuses to upscale it for some weird reason. You know, I remember reading something about that where they were like, "No, we're not going to touch it," and it's a shame too because when you go on Netflix and watch Next Generation and the original series, they made everything look so crisp and like beautiful. You know?
Yeah, I don't know what the issue is with that. I remember seeing some like high def version of one of the fights during the
Mhm.
Dominion War, and sometimes on Instagram you just see like a random video and you have no idea what the source is from, and I'm like,
Yeah,
what is this? 'Cause this looks awesome. Or what are you trying to say that they're not doing this?
yeah. I think somebody did the intro for Deep Space Nine in like 4K not too
Uh,
long ago on YouTube. I think we may have sent each other that video. I'm not sure because usually when it comes to like toy stuff and like a lot of nerd stuff, like it's you, my buddy Jonathan, and my brother will send me the same things. You know what I mean? Like it depends on like who's first. You know, like sometimes it's you, sometimes it's my brother, but it's like I get three messages of like, oh cool, like three different things that are the same from three different websites. You know?
yeah. Do I ever send you any Knicks gripes?
No.
No, I don't know. I don't have any gripes about this upcoming season. I actually kind of
Mm.
like the moves we made this summer, so no.
I think I'll always be a Knicks fan, but like a very lapsed Knicks fan. You know, like I'll always check out the start of the season and then just kind of be like, all right.
It's okay. It's fine. It's kind of hard to keep up during bad seasons anyway.
Yeah. Do you have any of those like Mayfex style basketball figures?
I actually got like a LeBron James from Enter Bay,
Mm.
all the way back when he was still in Cleveland, because that's still my favorite version of LeBron.
Oh wow, that's cool. I think I want to say I'm gonna look this up right now while we're doing this. Um, I want to say yes, Mayfex did like a Michael Jordan that looks
Oh,
completely ridiculous.
yeah, I haven't picked that one up yet. I've
Yeah,
been tempted to before too.
I think this one. Yeah, I think this one's like $150, and it's like classic Bulls Jordan, and he comes with like three pairs of sneakers.
I'm actually I can't find that anymore, but I think Enter Bay did a Carmelo Anthony. Nick's one,
Oh, cool.
which I can't. I think the last time I looked it up, all I could find were the bootlegs, and
Mhm.
I obviously don't want to. So
It's kind of funny too because it's like, unless you're Jordan, maybe Iverson, you'll get like a figure, but like I wouldn't mind seeing like a Patrick Ewing.
right,
Just like a
classic.
classic Knicks Patrick Ewing figure would be pretty awesome, or like even a John Starks.
I was just about to say John Starks, throwing a Latrell Sprewell on Allen Houston too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Classic. That's we're showing our age because that's like, I think for us that's like, oh, that's classic basketball. Like '90s basketball.
Give me an Anthony
Yeah.
Mason. Come on.
Yeah. Give me a Steve Francis. I'll take that. Maybe not a Steve Francis. Maybe I'd rather take a Stephon Marbury over a Steve Francis.
Yeah, same here.
Uh, have you picked up those that set of black and white with the red bandana and Ninja Turtles, like the NECA ones?
So I didn't get those the first time around, and then
Yeah.
Walmart released their own version of the black and white ones with the red band with the red mask,
Oh,
and
cool.
they're not as good. I thought they were going to be like, oh, it's probably just the same molding, but like
Mm.
cheaper plastic. But it's actually not that great.
What I'm gonna ask you one last question, and then I'm gonna let you go. What makes a great figure for it?
Well, it can't look cheap. That's number one.
All right.
Flimsy. Um, like a great figure just in general, a great figure compared to like comparing one to another.
I think modern day in general, because there's a lot of like, I'll flip through previews every month, and I'm like shocked at like wow, this looks like garbage, and people, and like it just seems like the not to throw Marvel under the bus, but they're like Diamond Select stuff. I'm like, oh, these are terrible, and they're still like $40 each.
I think also, and as someone who has bought a couple of those toys too, like
Mhm.
um, it can't look cheap, but and this is probably something that the designers probably can't control, which is the plastic can't be so hard that you can't even move it because
Yeah.
we all want more articulation with our figures, but it can't be at the expense of playability. And that's one of the reasons why the McFarlane toys are playable. The Super 7 Ultimate
Yeah.
line, it is playable. Um, Preferably not too top heavy so that you can pose your figures easily as well.
Okay.
Um, and other than that, just a paint job that's not terrible.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I
I'm
think
okay with just an adequate paint job too.
yeah. I'm kind of the same way. I'll get like particular about like scuffs and stuff, but that's really about it. Like speaking of like figure stiffness, which is kind of funny, like I picked up a Metal Gear Solid Square Enix Snake figure like years ago, right, at a Comic-Con. And as soon as I took it out of the box, I went to put the arm up, and the arm completely like snapped off because it was like so hard in the joint.
Right.
And the funny thing is, I emailed Square Enix, and they were like, "This has happened a lot. We're sending you a new arm." I was like, "Oh, cool." So like 2 months later, I got like the replacement Snake arm and like popped it in. So I find that like I think they're aware. Some companies are aware at least a little bit.
Yeah, I have the Square Enix Spike Spiegel, and
Oh,
I
cool.
yeah, I found that one is very playable. But I'm guessing, is it because of the shoulder pads that Snake has?
Like the extra, like that extra joint. You mean?
Yeah, it's because,
Probably, man. How do you feel about that new Bebop?
I think it looks great.
I can't wait. I can't wait. It's gonna look awesome.
Me too.
Aesthetically, I think like they nailed it. I'm very excited, and he's a great pick for Spike. Also,
Yeah, like I'm excited for the whole cast. I love the dog. Can't wait to see the dog in action.
yeah, dude, they nailed it. I think what I feel like he's got to be like a little CGI, right? Because he looks so picture perfect, like the dog from
Those
the
corgis
anime.
are just perfect looking, I guess. I don't know.
I do like a good corgi. All right, Ethan, I appreciate you coming on, man.
No, I appreciate it too, and I'm glad we got to talk about toys for the second half of the show.
I know, man. This is that was a lot of fun. Thank you so much for coming on. And I listen, a few months down the line, like if you're not pulling your hair out, I want you to come back on.
Yeah, I'll probably talk about the same things and then show you more toys that I have.
That's cool, man. I'll stock up too, and then we can do another like toy exchange.
I'll have more of the new stuff I have like actually available, like within grabbing distance.
I want to see it, man.
All right.
All right, dude. Later.
Awesome.
Okay. Ethan is the man. I love having him on the show. I love talking to him about his work, talking to him about comics and toys, man. Toys. I think we may do a toy exclusive episode at some point, which would be pretty cool. And speaking of toys, man, I was in Chicago a couple of weeks ago, hit the Lego store up there and got these brick heads, man. These are awesome. If you can see this, it's Scrooge McDuck and Huey, Dewey, and Louie. Right on, man. Guys, go pick up Dragon Path at your local bookstore on Amazon. Let's boost those sales up for Ethan. That book is fantastic. I highly recommend it. And you really can't get better as far as like a creator in many aspects, if you guys know what I mean. I hope you guys are doing well. Sad to hear that Norm Macdonald passed away this week. This one kind of landed heavy for me. That's why I'm talking about it, because I feel like he's one of those dudes that informed my sense of humor from a very young age. But it sucks, man. Dude died at 61. Rest in peace, bud. My book of the week this week is Batman the World. This is a collection of short Batman stories from literally around the world. You have United States, France, Spain, Italy, Germany, the Czech Republic here, Russia, Turkey, Poland, Mexico, Brazil, South Korea, China, and Japan. Pretty cool stuff. I really enjoyed it, and I love seeing international artists and writers take on Batman, you know, who I think you can write books and books and books just about the psychology of Batman, the perception of Batman, you know, documentaries, the whole nine. It's such a fantastic character, but you know, these guys break it down like so differently and so uniquely than what we're used to in American comics. And it was cool for DC to put this book together. So that's my book of the week. I hope you guys are doing well. We'll be back next week with another cool interview. Next week, I'm talking to Charlie McCracken from AP Bio. And he's also Spintax the Green on Hello from the Magic Tavern, one of my favorite podcasts that I think you should check out. And also, guys, don't forget to follow myself and Andrew Zarian at Matmen on Matmen Podcast. You can follow this, hit the like button, subscribe. This channel is BTC Rich X. You can find me on Twitter at BTC Rich. Sorry, it's been a while. I may be stumbling over my words here and there, but that's okay. We're back. I was traveling around with the Matmen podcast. Went to Vegas. We went to Chicago. I would say August and September have been a little nuts. It's starting to settle down now, but you know, we're back on the road next week with Matmen podcast. We're doing AEW's Super Show in Arthur Ashe Stadium. So if you're there and you want a high five, that's cool, man. I'll high five you. Maybe we'll get a drink or two. Anyway, guys, I'll see you next week. Much love and happiness and prosperity.